Hello student, welcome back. So in this session, we will continue the fourth module of microcontroller and embedded system, that is 18CS44 for the CS and IS student. So in the previous session, we studied what are the different types of requirements, like different types of models for embedded system. In this one, we will see that embedded system firmware design criteria, design and development criteria. So moving on, so actually the embedded firmware, what is embedded firmware? It is actually, embedded firmware is nothing but a software. It is responsible for controlling the embedded hardware in order to generate a certain response with the functional requirements, in order to generate such a response in accordance with the functional requirement, that is the firmware. So actually you can call firmware, actually firmware is called as the master brain of the embedded system, because we know firmware is the thing which it is a controlling algorithm. Actually it controls the different hardware on the embedded system. So design, like normally firmware is stored in permanent memory, that is read-only memory. We have studied different types of memory which is used in the embedded system, like one-time programmable memory, programmable read-only memory, electrical erasable read-only memory. So different types of memory we have studied in the previous session. So normally firmware are stored in ROM, read-only memory. One of the important advantage of ROM is its capability, like its capacity. Compared to the other flash, other memory, the ROM has got a highest capacity. So now designing a embedded firmware requires following things. You need to understand a particular hardware product, like what are the various components are interfaced in that particular embedded system, and how the memory and input outputs are mapped. All these details you need to know. Then you need to do some like configuration and register details of various hardware chips. So you need to do some initial configuration, and you need to understand the register details of various hardware chips used in that one. Then you need to understand programming language, some programming language like low-level assembly language or high-level language like C, C++, Java, etc. You need to understand these things. Now, after that, once this is done, then you need to start the firmware development process with the modeling the firmware requirements. You need to model the firmware requirements by using modeling skills like unified modeling language or flowchart, etc. Because this UML and flowchart gives clear diagrammatic representation of the decision items to be taken when the task is performed, So now, in the embedded system firmware design, there are different approaches. Mainly two approaches are listed here. The two basic approaches for the embedded system design, and it is design are, one is conventional procedure based firmware design. It is also known as super loop model. Second one is embedded operating system OS based design, embedded operating system OS based design. But all these designs depends on, all these approach depends on the complexity of the firmware to be performed. It depends on the complexity. If they for more and more complex, you cannot use conventional procedural based firmware design. You have to go for embedded operating system OS based design. Now first we will see the super loop based approach. So I told you there are two approach. One is super loop based approach. Other one is that is called as conventional procedural based firmware design. Second one is embedded operating system OS based design. Now we will see super loop based firmware approach. What is this approach actually? So this is adopted for applications that are not time critical. Like it is not adopted in mission critical applications. It is adopted in such application where response time is not so important. So for example, if you are going to design embedded system for electronic toy, then the response time is not important. In that such type of design, we are adopting a super loop based firmware development. So super loop approach is very similar to conventional procedural programming where code is executed task by task. That means super loop approach is nothing but approach is similar to conventional procedural programming, that is under sequential programming. We use C language which adopt sequential or procedural programming method. So this is similar to that type. Here the tasks are listed at the top of the program code, and each task is executed one after the other. Like in the multiple task based system, each task is executed serially. So this approach is something like a serial approach. So the firmware execution flow chart, the flow chart for the this model, that is super loop based approach, is something like this. There are this is the flow chart approach. You see here, here some of the things are listed, initially configure the common parameters. Like when you design the firmware by using a super loop method, approach method, then first one is you need to understand the common, you need to configure the common parameters. Then you need to do the initialization for various hardware, then memory component, and you need to understand the register, and you need to initialize the various register, etc. Then start the first task and execute it. Then it will execute the second task, then execute the next task, execute the last defined task. Now jump back to the first task and follow the same flow. Follow the same flow. So here we have noticed here one thing we have to note, that is the order in which the tasks to be executed are fixed. They are hard coded in the code itself. Like the order in which the task executed are fixed and in serial way. Like here there is no particular priority is given to the task. Like tasks are executed in a particular order. There is no priority assignment. Fourth task should be executed first and the second task should be executed next. Not like that. Here all the tasks are listed and they are executed in serial way. So we can visualize the above operation by using some C program. So here you can see the C program, the C program which contains various functions, and inside that while loop is there. So here task 1, first configurations functions, first it will during the approach, first configurations initialization will be done. After that it will execute the task 1, task 2, then task 3, so task, and then this loop will repeat. So this repetition is achieved by here this loop will repeat, and it is achieved by means of here infinite loop, or while we have used the condition while true. So this is a super loop based approach. Now since the task running inside the infinite loop, so what is the way to come out from that loop? So one way is either reset, hardware reset, or interrupt assertion. By resetting the hardware, the program execution back to the main loop. Otherwise, by interrupt request, suspend this task execution temporarily. So by two way you can break that loop. One is by hardware reset. Other one is interrupt request, that suspends the present task and it performs the corresponding interrupt routine. On completion of the interrupt routine, it repeats the task execution from the point where it got interrupted. That is the two way. And thing is the drawbacks of this approach is here super loop based design does not require an operating system. That is the advantage. Does not require an operating system, since there is no need for scheduling any type of task. And here in super loop approach, the priorities are fixed, first task will be executed, next second task will be executed, next third task will be executed, something like that. So code for performing this task will be reside inside the memory. So this doesn't require any type of operating system or any type of priority scheduling of the task, etc. This is the advantage. So when it is deployed, this is where it is deployed. This is deployed in low cost based embedded products where response time is not critical, as said earlier. Then, for example, you take something like reading and writing data to and from card using card reader, which requires sequence of operation like checking the presence of the card, authenticating the card, then reading and writing, etc. Then it is also applied in electronic video game toy, containing a small keypad and display unit. The program running inside the product may be designed in such a way that it reads the key to detect whether user has given the input, or if user press any key, if any key and the press key is detected, that will be displayed on the graphic display and corresponding action will be taken. Even if the application misses the key press, then it won't create any issue. Rather, it will be treated as a small bug in the firmware. That's all. It will not create any issue. So super loop based design, it's simple and straightforward, and it doesn't require any OS, because there is a OS related overheads are not there. So what is the major drawback of the system? The major drawback is any failure of the system in any part of the task will affect the total system. Like if the program hangs up at some point, then while executing the task, it will remain there itself. So only the way is you need to reset, or you need to use interrupt or reset method to go to the main loop. So another drawback of this one is lack of real timeliness. Real timeliness is not there in this one, because this system is designed for to adopt in such a area where response time is not response time is not that matters. In that area we normally deploy this type of approach, and because of that, lack of real timeliness will be there. That is the major drawback. So corrective measures can be taken by means of external interrupt etc. So next one is the second approach in this case is embedded operating system OS based approach. So we are discussing two types, students. We are discussing two types of approach. One is called as super loop based approach. Second one is embedded operating system OS based approach. So in embedded operating system OS based approach, it contains operating system which can be either general purpose operating system or real-time operating systems. So general purpose operating system based design is very similar to our conventional PC based application development, where the device contains operating system like Windows, Linux operating system, Unix operating system, etc. and you will be creating and running user application on the top of it. Example, GPOS, general purpose operating system, is used in embedded product development is like Microsoft XP Embedded 8.1. So general purpose operating system used here in embedded product development is based on Microsoft Windows XP Embedded 8.1, which offers various customization according to the industries and according to the requirements, etc. And OS based application also requires a driver software for different hardware present on the board to communicate with them. So based on the different types of hardware, it requires a particular driver software for particular hardware. The real-time operating system RTOS based design is employed in the normally deploy in mission critical applications. There we use real-time operating system based design for the embedded system, because RTOS responds in a real-time manner to the events. Real-time operating system contains real-time kernel. Those kernel is responsible for performing preemptive multitasking, scheduler for scheduling the task, multiple threads, etc. Preemptive multitasking means when the many tasks are running, a particular task misbehaves, then that task can be controlled by the kernel. Non-preemptive multitasking, such type of facility is not there. In preemptive multitasking, if the particular task misbehaves, then that task can be killed by the kernel. So here kernel has got control over the task. So all these things are present in a real-time operating system. So other than that, real-time operating system allows flexible scheduling of a system resource, like it will like system resources are allocated and mapped properly, smoothly, and this will offer some way to communicate between the task. So it will allocate various CPU memory to the various task smoothly. So that is the all the tasks can communicate. All the tasks can communicate because of this one flexible scheduling and scheduling of system resource. That is the one thing you need to understand here. Other than student, Windows embedded, so different types of application for RTOS are like different types of RTOS are Windows embedded compact, VxWorks, ThreadX, then these are the embedded Linux, Symbian, etc. are the examples for the RTOS, RT real-time operating system employed in various embedded systems. Now, embedded firmware development languages. So, embedded firmware can be developed by using assembly level language, low level language, or high level language. But everything is based on the target processor. So you see here, if it is developed by using assembly language or low level language, then it depends on the target processor. It depends on the target processor and controller specific language. It depends on the target processor or controller. That means if you develop this one by using you develop a particular software by using assembly language, that work on the particular processor. That will not work on all the processor, or it is like processor specific or controller specific. So suppose if you design that with using a high level language like C, C++, Java, etc. This is now commonly known as high level language. Then it is like a controller independent or processor independent, controller independent or processor independent. Then third approach is a combination of assembly language and high level language. Actually we have discussed this one in second module while explaining different types of optimization techniques where we use where we have seen some programs where we write we call C program from the assembly language subroutine, or assembly language we will call assembly language function from the C program. Like we have seen that one. So three types of approaches are there. One is controller specific, one is controller independent where we use high level language, and third one is the mixture of both one, that is assembly and high level language. So now first one we will see assembly language based development. First one you will see assembly language based development. In assembly language is the human readable notation of machine language, whereas machine language is the processor understandable language. Like machine language is in the form of ones and zeros that can be understandable by processor, but assembly language is a human readable notation. So processor deals with only 1 and 0, so machine language is a binary representation. Assembly language and machine language are processor controller dependent. So assembly language and machine language are processor or controller dependent. That means if you write a program by using assembly language for particular processor controller, that will not work with the others. So assembly language programming is the task of writing processor specific machine code in a mnemonic form. So in assembly language you use something called as a mnemonic. So here the task of writing programming for particular processor based on mnemonic and converting that mnemonics into actual processor instruction, that is the machine language, by using assembler. So a general format of assembly language includes opcode followed by operand. So opcode tells the processor controller what to do with the operands. what to do, and the operands provided the data and information required to perform the action. So opcode, see, the assembly language contains mnemonics. Mnemonics are made of opcode and operands actually. Opcode tells the processor and controller what to do, and the operands provide what to do, and the operands provide and the data information required to perform the action. For example, in the this one, here you can see I have instruction move a, comma 30. So what it will do is it will move this is the immediate move value of 30 to register A. So now here move is the opcode and A is the operand. Here we have one operand is A and other one operand is a register and other operand is a immediate value. So this immediate value is moved to register A. So in terms of machine language, move is represented, move A, that is the this one opcode. This opcode is represented by the machine language something like this, and the other value is represented something like this. So the processor can understand only this and this. Inside the processor, this code will this binary or something called as hexa code will run inside the processor. So processor won't understand move a, 30. This is for human readout. Now, machine code program does consist of sequence of assembly language instructions. Where each statement contains mnemonic, opcode and operands. In the this one diagram, you can see we have particular like assembly language program. Here you can see that's like again add a, 30. So again is here is nothing but a label. Label is used. Label provides means of branching to the instruction. Label is used for branching, and other than that we have opcode, and this is the operand, and this is also operand, but here this operand is specified like immediate value. This is the source operand and this is the destination operand. What finally this will do is like this will add 30 to register A. It will add 30 to register A. So this is the complete syntax of assembly level language program. Now we will see some other programs. So sample code is given here for 8051. So in the sample code, like it will move 255 to register R0. Then if R0 here in the second line, it will decrement R1 and it will loop decrement R1 and it will loop till R1 becomes 0. Decrement jump not equal. So it will loop till R1 becomes 0. It will loop to the it will loop here from year to year. So it will move R0 to 255 and it will decrement the R1 till it will become it will equal to 0. Till that it will repeat. So in the second program, we can see here we have one more program here. You can see this is the same program, but in the first program we have the option, we have not specified the address. Instead of that, we have specified the label, like address will be specified by the assembler here. But in the second program, what we did is like we have specified the address, like origin is assembler directive, the starting address, and the program will automatically loop here to the starting address. So here we have option to represent the address, but here we have not declared any address. We have used labels, and assembler will convert that into automatically into address. So in assembly language program written in assembly code is saved as a .asm assembly file or .src source file. So any text editor like Notepad, WordPad from Microsoft or the text editor provided by the IDE tool like Keel version 3, Keel version 4, Keel version 5 can be used for writing the assembly instruction. When the program is too complex or too big, the entire code can be further divided into sub-modules, and that approach is called as modular programming. Because if you go for modular programming, it is very easy that you can easily you can code the program and debug in the later stage. That's why we go for modular program. When the program is too complex or too big, entire code is divided into different small module, so that each module can be reusable in various ways. And these modular programs are usually easy to debug and code also. Now, how the source file is transmitted to the object file. So source file transmission to the object file. So translation of assembly code to the machine code is performed by the assembler. Assembler is a software which will translate the code written in assembly language. Assembly language is a human readable format to machine code that is performed by the assembler. So we use normally Keel software is a popular software, popular assembler for 8051 and ARM based microcontroller. So here we have three files like source file 1 and two files, source file 1 and source file 2. You can see the extension of the source file. Source file can be written with the extension assembly or .src. So we have two source file. So that source file will be converted by the assembler like Keel, as I said, to the object file. So to the object file. Then object file is combined with the library files. Normally object file will be combined with the library file by the linker software, linker or locator. What it will do is object file is it will combine the object file with library files. Library files contains important like different types of header files or different types of files which contain different types of functions and all. So all it will combine that object file with the library files. Finally that will be done by the linker, and after that it will convert that into something called as object file into exa file converter. So something called as exa file converter, that is nothing but the machine code, and that machine code is readable by the processor. Actually that is the exa file, that is the machine code. So processor cannot understand if you write the instruction move R1, R2, but processor understands exa code representation, that is the machine code representation. So now what is library file creation and usage? Actually libraries are specially formatted ordered program collection of object modules that may be used by the linker at a later time. It is the collections of different objects or different like objects that So now we'll see the library file creation and usage. Actually libraries are specially formatted and ordered program collection of object modules that may be used by the linker at a later time. When the linker processes a library, only those object modules in the library that are necessary to create the program are used. So library file extensions are normally .lib. Like we have assembly language file extension is .sm, ASM or .src. Like library files .lib. So what is exactly library? Library is some kind of source code hiding technique, actually speaking. If you don't want to reveal the source code behind the various functions you have written in your program, and at the same time you want them to be distributed to application developers for making use of them in their application, then you can supply them as a library files and give them details of public functions available from the library. So Library 51 from Keil Software is an example of library creator, and it is used for creating library files for A51 assembler, C51 compiler for 8051. So lib51 from Keil Software, it is an example for library creator. You can create your own library and you can add that your own library files to the package, or you can create your own package by using lib51 from Keil. So linker and locator. I told you what is the job of the linker. Linker is responsible for linking various object modules in a multi-module project and assigning absolute address to each module. And also linker link all the object modules with the library files, also required library files. Like linker is a program which combines the target program with the code of other programs and library routines. It will combine the program what you have written with the library routines. During the process of linking, absolute object module is created. The object module contains the target code and information about the programs and library routines, etc. So this object module, absolute object module, is used to create exa files, and that exa file is dumped into the processor or controller. Like that controller will run that exa file. Exa file is nothing but in the machine readable code. Now we'll see object to exa file converter. Exa file is a representation of machine code, and the exa file is dumped into the code memory of the processor or controller, like ARM controller, LPC21418 controller. It has got flash ROM. In that we will dump that flash ROM and RAM. In that we will dump that exa file. The exa file representation varies depending on the target processor. Like suppose if you create exa file on for particular processor like LPC21418, it will not run on the other processor. It will not run on the processor. It is processor dependent. Like Intel processor controller, the target exa file format will be Intel X. And Motorola, the X file should be Motorola X. So exa files are ASCII files that contain hexadecimal representation of the target application. So it is the ASCII file that contains hexadecimal representation of your program. Exa file is created from absolute object file, as I said earlier. So QH51 is a tool in this Keil software which is used to create, or which is used to translate object to exa file, and that can be run on the C51 or ARM7 compiler. Now the advantages of assembly language based development and drawbacks. We'll see the advantages and drawbacks. Advantage is efficient code memory and data memory usage. Like code memory and data memory usage can be done according to the requirement. Then it will give the high performance, low level hardware access, code reverse engineering. All these are the different types of assembly language based development, like advantages of assembly language based development. But drawbacks is high development time, because you are going to write the code by using assembly language, high development time, and it is a developer dependency. Means suppose if you write the program in high level language, then any like the other programmers can trace the program, but here it is developer dependency, and it is non-portable. Non-portable means if you write the program for a specific controller, then it cannot be portable to the other controller. So high level language based development. So any high level language like C, C++ or Java with the supported cross compiler. So supported cross compilers for converting, that cross compiler is used to convert the application developed in high level language to target processor assembly code. That is called as a cross compiler. So with the supported cross compiler for the target processor can be used for embedded firmware development. Like high level language with the cross compiler can be used. High level language like in a sense C, C++, Java can be used for the development of embedded firmware. Most commonly used high-level language for the embedded firmware application is the C. C language is well defined, easy to use high-level language with the. It is well defined. It is a procedural language. It is a sequential language. It means it process this one sequentially, instruction sequentially. Easy to use like high-level language with the extensive cross-platform development tool are there in C. Like it has got extensive cross development tool. The various steps involved in the high-level language-based embedded firmware development is same as that of assembly language-based development, except the conversion of the source file written in high-level language to object file done by the cross compiler. Here, cross compiler will convert the code which is written into high-level code which is written in high-level language into object file done by the cross compiler. Whereas in assembly language based development, it is carried out by the assembler. So if you write the program by using assembly language, the same process will be carried out by the assembler. So here the various type of steps involved in the conversion of program written in high level language to the corresponding machine language is here. It is shown here. We have two files here, source file 1, source file 2. Both are written by using C language, C language or C++ language. So here we are using cross compiler. In the earlier case we used assembler, but here we are using cross compiler. In the earlier case, in the sense like, let me go to the previous this one. Here you see, here this is the example for developing the firmware by using assembly language. If you write the program by using assembly language, then you should use assembler. Corresponding assembler is available. So in the Keil software, the particular assembler is available to convert that into object file. But in case of this one here we have written the program in high level language, so you need to use the cross compiler. So what the job of the cross compiler? It will convert this high level language into assembly code, like corresponding object code. So here object files are generated, and these object files are then linked by using linker. So what the linker will do, linker or locator, it will link the object file with the libraries, and finally it will create absolute object file. From the absolute object file, exa file will be created. So there is an object to exa file converter which will generate exa file, nothing but a machine code file. It will be generated by this one. The function of this one is to generate the machine code or exa file. So now advantages of high level languages based development. So if you use high level language, it will reduce the development time. Developer independency means if you write the high level language, so that particular program can be continued or traced by the other developers. So it is a developer independency. Then portability. If you write the high level language program, then portability is there. Like you can port it to the some other processor. For example, in the Keil software, which is what we use, it is integrated development. This one environment. It works on the which we use in our laptop or desktop, where we write the program for the ARM7 LPC2148 controller. We write the program in a high level language, but we can port that and we can run that program what we written in high level language to one LPC2148 controller. That is possible because that is advantage of high level language. So our laptop contains different processor, and where we write the code by using Keil software, and we can port it to the LPC2148 controller. Drawbacks of high level language. Cross compilers available for high level language may not be so efficient. Sometimes these cross compilers are not efficient. Investment required for high level language based development tools, like investments are required when you go for cross compilers and high level language based development tools, etc. Then the third approach is mixing assembly and high level languages. So the third approach, here we use both assembly language and high level language. This is actually we have already studied in the second module when I was explaining about optimization of the code. So here we are using both high level language and assembly language. So high level and assembly languages are mixed in three ways: mixing assembly language with high level language, mixing high level language with the assembly language, and inline assembly programming. Inline assembly programming. These are the three ways to mix the different mixing assembly and high level language. We have seen in the second module from the high level language, from the C program we called assembly subroutine, or from the assembly language we called various type of C functions, that we have seen in the second module. Now mixing assembly with the high level language. Assembly language is the C. Assembly routines are mixed in the C situations where the entire program is written in C, and we call in between assembly subroutines. The cross compiler don't have to build in support for implementing certain features like interrupt service routine functions, ISR, or if the programmer wants to take the advantage of the speed and optimized code offered by the machine code generated by the handwritten assembly. Mixing C and assembly is a little complicated in the sense like the programmer must aware how the parameters are passed from C routine to the assembly and the values are returned from assembly to the C routine. These things should be understood by the particular programmer properly, particular developer properly, how the parameters will be passed from the C routine to the assembly and how the things will be returned, values will be returned from assembly to C routine. Now following this steps gives how C51 cross compiler performs the mixing of assembly code with C. Like the steps are as follows: write a simple function in C that passes the parameter and returns the value the way you want in your assembly subroutine. Write a simple function in C that passes the parameter and returns the value the way you want your assembly routine to. Use the src directive like program src at the top of the file so that C compiler generates src file instead of an object file. So C compiler generate src file here. So to generate src file, not an object file, instead of an object file it will generate src file. To generate src file you need to use the src directive as shown here. Then compile the C file. Since src directive is specified, the src file is generated. Src file contains assembly code generated for the C code you wrote. Rename the src file to something like .a51 because we are using C51 cross compiler. Edit the .a51 file and insert the assembly code wherever you want and execute the body of the assembly function in A51 file. Now mixing high level language with assembly language. Mixing the code written in high level language like C in assembly language is useful for the following scenarios. The source code is available in assembly language. So source code is already available in assembly language and the routine written in high level language like C needs to be included in the existing code. That is, the routine of C should be included in the needs to be included in the assembly language. Assembly language programs already available. The entire source code is planned in assembly code for various reasons like optimized code, optimal performance here, efficient code, memory utilization, and proven expertise in handling the assembly code, etc. But some portion of the code may be very difficult and tedious to write in assembly language. Some sort of mathematical function, some type of sort of computations. It's very difficult to write the situation where it is very difficult to write in assembly code. So in that stage, decided to import the functions written in C language. To include built-in library functions written in C language provided by the cross compiler. So we have to include the built-in C language library functions written in C language provided by the cross compiler we need to include. For example, built-in graphics, library function and string operations supported by C language, it should be included here. Now next one is inline assembly. Inline assembly is another technique for inserting target processor controller specific assembly instruction at any location of the source code written in high-level language. See, another technique for inserting target processor controller specific assembly instruction at any location of the source code written in high-level language. This avoids the delay in calling assembly routine from the C code. So only advantage of inline assembly is it will avoid the delay. Here special keywords are used to indicate start and end of the assembly instruction. So now we see the difference between C language versus embedded C. So here the differences are C is a well structured, well defined, standardized general purpose programming language with the extensive bit manipulation support. Like well structured language, sequential language, procedural oriented language, general purpose programming language. C offers a combination of features of high-level language and assembly and helps in hardware access programming, system level programming. So C used for system level programming as well as business package development, like application development like payroll systems, banking applications. All C language can be used because which provides the features of one high-level language and assembly. The conventional C language follows ANSI standard and it incorporates various library files for different operating systems. The platform operating system specific application known as compiler is used for conversion of programs written in C. Like platform specific application known as compiler, which is used for the conversion of programs written in C to the target processor. Specific binary files. Here we need to use, suppose if you write the programs in embedded C, then we need like a particular compiler to convert that one to particular this one specific binary files. Now embedded C can be considered as a subset of conventional C language. Embedded C supports all the C instruction and incorporates a few target processor specific. Embedded C contains some target processor specific instructions, target processor specific functions, instructions, etc. It should be noted that ANSI C library implementation is always tailored and to the target processor controller library files in the embedded C. So library implementations are always tailored to the target processor, like according to requirement of the target processor. It is tailored into the library files in the embedded C. The implementation of the target processor, implementation of target processor control specific function instruction depend upon the processor control as well as supported cross compiler for the particular embedded C language. Like when you want to use embedded C language, like it depends on the target processor and specific functions. A software program is called as a cross compiler is used for the conversion of programs written in embedded C to the target processor. Like we are using here something called as a cross compiler that will convert whatever program which you have written in this one C language embedded C to the like a controller specific or target process specific or controller specific machine language. Now this will show the difference between C language and embedded C. C is a general purpose programming language which can be used to design any type of desktop based applications. We know you can use C for developing payroll system, or you can use C to develop other financial application, which can be used to design any type of desktop based application. Embedded system is an extension of C language and it is used to develop microcontroller based application. So you use embedded system to develop microcontroller based application. It is used for C language is a general purpose programming language and it is used to design any type of desktop based application. C language program is a hardware independent, but embedded C programs are hardware or processor target processor dependent. C language uses standard compilers to compile and execute the program, but embedded C requires specific compiler, cross compiler, they are able to generate particular hardware microcontroller based output. Like that will convert your embedded C program into target processor specific program exa file. Readability, modification, bug fixing, etc. are very easy in C language, like readability, modification, bug fixing. Readability, modification, bug fixing, etc. are not easy in embedded C language. So, like all these things are somewhat difficult in embedded C language. So, compiler versus cross compiler. What is the difference between compiler and what is the difference between compiler? What is the difference between compiler and cross compiler? We'll see from the following points what is the difference. Like compiler is a software tool that converts source code written in high level language on a top of a particular operating system running on a specific target processor architecture. Like compiler is like it will convert source code written in high level language like C language, Java language on top of a particular operating system. You write the program by using Java language on a particular operating system like Windows 10 or 8, whatever may be. So it will convert that into the target specific processor architecture. Example, Intel 86 Pentium, something like that. Target processor architecture. Here the operating system, the compiler program and the application making use of the source code run on the same target processor. So here operating system, the compiler program and application making use of the source code run on the same target processor. That means you use C program or you use high level language to develop the program and that particular application. Then the application which you may make use to develop the program and compiler program and operating system, everything run on the same target processor. Source code is converted into process specific machine instruction. The development is a platform specific OS as well as the target processor on which OS is running. Development is a platform specific, which OS you are using, whether you are using Unix or whether you are using different types of operating system. Development is also depends on platform specific. Compilers are generally termed as a native compilers. A native compiler generates machine code for the same machine, same processor on which it is running. Compilers are generally termed as a native compilers. Native compilers are in the sense like it will generate the code for the particular processor on which it is running. It will generate this code for the particular processor on which it is running. But the same code can be run on the other machine if you use the same processor and same operating system. So other than that, cross compilers. Now we'll see the difference between now we'll see the point with respect to cross compilers. Cross compilers are software tools used in cross-platform development applications. Like cross-platform development application in the sense like you write the program in high-level language using Keil software and you want to run that program in a specific controller, target processor, then you are using cross-platform development application, cross-compiler. Cross-platform development, in cross-platform development, the compiler running on a particular target processor. OS convert the source code to machine code for the target processor, whose architecture and instruction set is different from the processor on which the compiler is running for an operating system which is different from the current development environment OS. As I said, we use a Keil version 4 or 5. So it is ID development tool. So ID development tool where we write the program by using a C language, embedded C. We write the program, but that program we run that program on one particular processor like Intel processor. We run that program on that. We write and execute that program on that particular Intel processor with the operating system like Windows and all. Finally, we'll execute that exa code in some other target processor. So this is the cross-platform. Actually, you write the program by using Keil software in your laptop or desktop, and finally you will make to run that program in particular hardware, different hardware. So this is a cross platform development. Embedded system development is a typical example. So embedded system development is a typical example for cross-platform development, where embedded firmware is developed on a machine with the Intel, AMD or any other target processor, as I said. So embedded firmware is developed on a machine with the Intel, AMD or any other target processor, and same is converted into machine code for any other target processor like ARM7, etc. So Keil C51 is the example for the cross compiler. So Keil C51 is the example for a cross compiler. So student, with this we'll wind up the module 4. So in the module 4, actually in the module 4 we studied what is the characteristics and quality attributes of the embedded system. What do you mean by characteristics? What is exactly characteristics? What is quality attributes? Like what is the functional aspects and what is the non-functional aspects? In the functional aspects we studied different types of functional aspects like application domain specific, reactive and real time, operates in harsh environments, distributed, small size and weight, for concerns, all those things we studied. Other than that, we studied non-functional aspects like operational quality attribute and non-operational quality attribute. Operational quality attributes are these are the operational quality attributes like response, throughput, reliability, maintainability, security, safety, and non-operational attributes like testing, debug, availability, portability. All these things we studied. Other than that, in the next chapter we studied like domain specific applications, the application of washing machine, and the application of embedded system in automotive domain. We studied the exactly how embedded systems are applied in automotive domain. Then we studied what are the different types of automotive communication buses. Then in the next chapter we studied what are the different types of design models are used for embedded system. Like the designing model for embedded systems are how you have to select the model, then what are the different, what do you mean by model, then different models like architecture model, controller architecture, data path architecture, complex instruction set model, computing model, reduced instruction set computing, very long instruction word computing. All these are different types of architecture we studied here. Then we studied different types of design models like data flow graph, and then control data flow graph, state machine model, sequential programming model, concurrent communicating model, and object oriented model. So we studied all these things in data flow, control data flow graph. Then we studied finite state machines. We saw different types of applications of the finite state machines, like in automatic T or copy vending machines, then public telephone, coin operated public telephone unit. Other than that, we saw sequential programming model. What is the sequential programming model? What is the concurrent programming model? Then after that we started with the design, firmware design and development. What is exactly firmware? Then what are the different approaches like conventional procedure based firmware design and like superloop model, then embedded for operating system OS based design. So other than that, we studied what is operating system, embedded operating system OS based approach. So in embedded firmware design, assembly language based development, then how the source file to object file will be converted, what is library, what is link, what is object to exa file converter, Then high level language based development, what is how the object exa file is converted in a high level language. Then mixing assembly language and high level language. Other than that, we studied what is the difference between C and embedded C, and cross compiler versus cross compiler. So all these things we studied in the fourth module. In the fifth module, we will see what is real time operating system. So thank you for your cooperation. Thank you.